No, hopefully we'll have to do it in class copy. Yeah, Ellen did that.
Oh.
Good evening, everyone. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act and is open to the media and public. Notices were duly posted and the meeting was advertised in the Hunterdon County Democrat and Courier News. Formal action may be taken. I don't think I said welcome everyone to the regular education meeting. I missed that first thing. I apologize. So maybe get a roll call, please.
Ms. DeVinda.
Here.
Ms. Fiore.
Here.
Mr. Lopes. Here. Ms. Mensah.
Here.
Mr. Beach. Ms. Bogorski. Ms. Ryan.
Here.
Ms. Wolf.
Here.
Dr. Susia.
Here. Can you stand for the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Susia.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, welcome back to school for the kickoff of the 24-25 school year. It's great to be here and to give you two updates in my superintendent's report. First is an update on the opening of schools and how we started the school year, and then I will also talk about district goals. When I'm finished talking about district goals, I'll introduce Patty Reese from the New Jersey School Boards Association, who will help the board facilitate a discussion revolving around board goals for the year as well. So it's a night of kind of celebration, looking toward the year, and thinking about our goals for the year. So first, the first day of school update. We are in day 4. We just completed day 4 of school. So we're almost a week in, and all has gone really well with the opening of school. So just enrollment by numbers. Here are our current enrollment numbers. All students, including our preschool students, both in district as well as preschool students at our provider locations. Our total enrollment as of when I took this snapshot of enrollment was 1,568 students. We projected, Jason and I, when we did our budget presentation with the board back in March, 1,574. I think this is the closest estimate of student enrollment we have ever had, where we 8 students off. So we anticipated 1,574, and we are just 8 students short of what we thought our total enrollment would be, including preschool. Enrollment by grade level, I just wanted to point this out because I noticed a trend. If you take a look for the past couple of years, if you look at first and second grade, you can see that our enrollment in grades 1 and 2, we've noticed has averaged out a little bit lower than total grade enrollment for the past couple of years. This is the first year in 3 years that our enrollment in kindergarten has actually exceeded, for the first time in a couple of years, exceeded our first grade and our second grade enrollment. Anecdotally, the folks might be moving into town, preschool may have drawn some folks into Reddington Township, but our kindergarten enrollment, being 151 is good news. It shows that 1-0 enrollment might be creeping up a little bit by 10 or 20 students per grade level. If nothing else, it's at least relatively stable. I mean, our enrollment numbers by grade level are anywhere between 135 to 4th grade, which is our largest class, 164. So having that kind of consistent enrollment year after year is good news for the district. It provides consistency in programming. In the future, and we'll have to watch kindergarten enrollment over the course of the next couple of years to see if we are seeing a little bit of a 10 to 20 student boost in enrollment for kindergarten coming up every year. So that's just enrollment for us starting the school year. All good news, class sizes in the elementary grades are ranging anywhere between 16 students to 20 students. 4th grade and 5th grade are around 20 to 22. And then in the middle school, class sizes are pretty low because we've had a little bit of a dip in RMS enrollment overall. And we've maintained our staffing up there. So class sizes are in the teens to mid-20s, low 20s up in the middle school, depending on the subject. Health, PE, social studies, science classes are a little bit larger. Some language arts classes, math classes are nice and low. So we kicked off the year last week on Tuesday, welcoming back our staff. We had a big celebration in the Hollenbrook School cafeteria. Mrs. Fiore was there for some time for breakfast. Mrs. Podgorski was there as well, and Mrs. Wolf and Mrs. Podgorski stayed for our big welcome back with the staff. There were greetings from myself, from Mrs. Wolf, and then from Mrs. Vance as well. There were introductions of new staff, so we got to know everyone, and then there were honors and awards given out at that day as well. Some of the pictures, the bottom left is just Mrs. Pryl getting everybody ready for our big celebration. In the middle, I addressed the staff, and Mrs. Wolf addressed the staff as well. Both were really well received. Mrs. Wolf, I received some great compliments and some feedback from the staff on your welcome remarks. They really appreciated having you there, so thank you for being there. It was great. And then all the way over to the right-hand side, there's a picture of Jason with Marcy Cole, our transportation supervisor. And Marcy was given an award for 30 years of service to the district for this year, which is fantastic. It was a great welcome back for the staff. We had 2 days of in-service last week to prepare for our students, and then students came on Thursday. Welcome. This was some preschool classrooms over at Berry Patch. Just a couple of pictures. All of our classrooms are uniform across the district, as well as our private providers, with the same materials and manipulatives for our preschool students, but this is just a snapshot of preschool. This is a welcome back of our Tip Top Tigers, Dr. Higgins, as well as students in front of the welcome back sign on the first day of school. This is Cubby at White House School, welcoming our Cubs of Character back. The first day of school was kind of like a party style. There was a music playing. There was a big, I don't know, you know how they have the car lots, you know, the big man with the wiggles and everything like that. He was there, and Cubby was there, and the HSA provided a great welcome back to school arch for the opening, the main doors, the front doors of the school. This is Dr. Moss and the Bobcat. We're having a big year in Hollenbrook this year, where Dr. Moss and the staff are going to be celebrating 25 years of Hollenbrook School being open. So we started the year with a donated 25-year balloons for Hollenbrook School. And this is the Viking, welcoming RMS Vikings back to school. All are valuable Vikings, and we're looking forward to a great year at the middle school. And to top off our first day of school, our bus drivers had a ton of reason to celebrate outside White House School. They were dancing to the music. The transportation department worked, I have to say, I put this in here because the transportation department has worked tirelessly over the past couple of days, ironing out all of the transportation challenges, I'll say, that we've had over the past couple of days, between transporting now over 100 preschoolers, which is a lot to get on and off buses every day, to road closures, to some bus drivers choosing not to accept employment on the first day of school. We had a lot to manage with the transportation department, but they did it in good stride. So we had a very, very successful welcome back. You may see some new signage around the district as well. We up here on this campus between the middle school and Hollenbrook School, I notice this quite a bit when we have to interview candidates or guests that are coming to the board offices. They almost always call my secretary Doreen from the back parking lot over at the middle school, wondering where in the world the board office is. We've put some signage out to make it more clear where the middle school is, where the Hollenbrook School is, and where the board of ed offices can be located. And some great school spirit with the banners that are hanging on the light poles. We know, I was talking to the facilities manager and our foreman. Anytime they go to a facilities manager conference, they always talk about how when kids and teachers feel proud of the school that they attend, it raises student achievement. Having signs and excitement and banners to show some school pride is really important for schools. So we have some new signs for the start of the school year, which are great. So this is just a quick snapshot of the beginning of the school year. Before I move on to goals, I'd like to turn it over and ask the board if you have any questions or comments about our opening days.
I just had a comment, the welcome back event that put together, I think this is the third year or the fourth year. I don't remember exactly what it was. It's fantastic. I think there's so much enthusiasm from the staff. It's really such an awesome event, and so I just wanted to say great job. Thanks for doing that, because I feel like I don't know if it's the only event that brings the whole staff together like that. Just to kick off the year, it's really nice, very nicely done. So it seems like everyone feels appreciated, and it's a really good atmosphere.
We've always had a great welcome back. We don't get this that often. We've always done a great welcome back, and it's taken a little bit of a different face over time. And what's really important over the past probably 2 or 3 years, you may have noticed that we really closed the district between 8 and 10 on that first day, because everyone in the staff should attend that meeting. Bus drivers, secretaries, custodians, maintenance, the police were there, and not just our 4 police officers, but other lieutenants from the police. It was a really nice show of community support that day. Breakfast has changed a little bit over time. You know, we're offering more choices for breakfast. We had hot breakfast this year for the first time. So we've done a couple of things to really, I guess, up our game with the welcome back. It's an exciting, nice pep rally for the staff. So thank you. Anything else? Opening days of school. A lot of excitement, great things. It's day 4. Still working out the kinks. Excellent. Dan, could you bring up the goals presentation as well? So we use the administration uses our leadership meeting, our retreat, our summer planning, our summers as a time to plan for the district goals for this year. We also, as a board, talk a lot about what the next step for district goals might be when we sit and discuss my evaluation every June as well. And usually that gives me an opportunity to start crafting what the goals might be, and I'll have a discussion with you at that time. But this is really after my evaluation, using summer as a time to plan and meeting with the leadership team. These are really the goals that the district would like to look forward to for the 24-25 school year. So we don't ever forget our mission and our strategic goals. And I found this quote actually. It states, "The occasional remarkable moment shouldn't be left to chance. They should be planned for and invested in." And this is a quote from Chip Heath, the author of The Power of Moments. If you attended the first day welcome back, part of my remarks to the staff were I guess, inspired by reading The Power of Moments over the course of the summer. And what this book taught me is that we often leave powerful moments, these peaks that we have in our experiences, to chance. But actually, it's better to manufacture, to create powerful moments for kids, for employees of an organization. And I found this quote, and I think it links directly to what it means to plan and be prepared and have district goals, because we shouldn't just leave the school year to its own devices and allow it to happen. We should plan for it, we should invest in it, and we should make sure that we have a remarkable and memorable school year. And that includes the goals that I'm going to show you today. So our mission from our strategic work is to empower members of our community to lead purposeful lives with integrity and cultivate a spirit of discovery and embrace connections in our diverse global society. And in order to live our mission, we have 3 strategic goals: inquisitive learning, partnerships goal, as well as our social awareness goal. And these have been our standing strategic goals over the course of the past 5. We are in our 5th year, I should say. We are in our 5th year of executing these goals with specific action steps. And this will be a really exciting year to kind of reflect back on these goals now that they're coming to the point where we need to evaluate how well we've achieved them. But we have to keep these in mind, because what we want to accomplish are these 4 different goals. And I categorize them into focus goals, kind of how we categorize our board goals, what we did last year at least, and 1 continued goal, because our strategic plan is really our continued goal. That our 3 focus areas are going to include academic achievement, our communications enhancement, and our referendum planning. And I'll provide some details on some action steps for each one of these goals in this presentation as well. So these are our goals, overarching goals, but how will we accomplish it? Some action steps. So our first one is academic achievement. And I highlighted a couple of areas for us here. And under academic achievement, we want to focus on using our data, special programs, and new standards implementation to overall bolster academic achievement as measured with iReady. So the continued use of data is the purpose of that is to drive instruction. We want to ensure that we enhance our special programs, like our newly established preschool program, our special education programs, as well as our multilingual learning programs, so special programs for our diverse population. And then standards implementation, this comes from the fact that this year, language arts and math have received, particularly language arts and math, I should say, have received pretty significant standards revisions from the Department of Education, which has us creating and approved, we have approved new curriculum documents for both math and language arts K-8. Because of that, we are implementing new standards and new curriculum, and in some areas, new materials this year. So some of our action steps include implementation of the newly revised language arts and math curriculum, which includes a K-2 reading program, a new one, as well as a handwriting pilot as well, which we've discussed over the past several months in EdTech. Adjustments do need to be made to the math and language arts curriculum, which we've done because of new scheduling. So you'll recall that on our latest agreement with the RTEA, we were able to negotiate through bargaining an increase of instructional time in all of our buildings, and then we were able to realign our schedules last year for implementation this year. So we do have new schedules, and while grades K through 5 didn't change substantially, we know that the middle school really did have a large change in their schedule this year after a year-long investigation. So we have to adjust our math and language arts curriculum to accommodate these new schedules. We're going to look at training and protocols for reading difficulties or disabilities. We are certainly compliant with the dyslexia law. We screen all students grades K through 3 with our iReady dyslexia screener. But as we've discussed over the course of the year last year, and we'll talk about it in this year, I've talked with the supervisors in the special ed and language arts program. We want to make sure that we have a standardized protocol after we do the screening, as well as further options for continued screening for our teachers. And we definitely want to talk to our staff about additional training, because identifying and locating reading difficulties and disabilities can be a very challenging task for teachers. We want to make sure that they are trained really well, even beyond the 2 hours of training that the state provides for dyslexia and reading disabilities. We also want to look at enhancing our language instruction education program for our multilingual learners. Mr. Tumolo talked in detail at the last EdTech meeting about including more, we are including more sheltered instruction training for staff at grades K through 8. Sheltered instruction training is to ensure that students who are multilingual learners and they are in the general ed classroom, that the teacher is equipped with strategies, general ed teachers equipped with strategies in the general ed classroom. But we're also looking at making this a community effort and providing some parent education to parents of our students who are multilingual learners as well. We also have another prong for our multilingual learners to ensure that we have consultation in our preschools for any families that come with students who speak another language other than English. Because that early intervention at age 3 and 4 is very powerful for students who are learning English as well. So that's our academic achievement goal and some action steps in brief. Our communications goal, I did talk about this at length at the last Board of Education meeting, but communications is certainly a goal of ours. We want to launch and develop our protocols for enhanced district communications. We're going to develop a district newsletter schedule. We're going to design opportunities for community outreach and engagement. I received some good news. We have a newspaper publication that goes to all free to all households in Reddington, Raritan, Elgin, and Flemington called The Chronicle. We've made contact with the publisher of that newspaper. Thank you, Mrs. DePinto, for pointing that out to us, because they've been great and really eager for school content. We've got some ads going in their next edition for October, which includes looking for bus drivers. We've got that, and I've reached out and talked with the township, and they are doing a quarterly community newsletter that's going to go to Reddington Township only, and they asked me for content for their first issue that's coming out sometime this fall. So we've got no avenues to now 2 paper avenues that are going to go out to Reddington residents, which is great. So we're going to use our protocols for sharing district news and initiatives. I'm going to work on forming a key communicators group, local, everything from township officials to religious leaders to parents to board members, a group of folks to just come together and talk about school issues and community issues and see how we can work together. And then we've already completed the district-wide implementation of the SMORE, which is our accessible newsletter for families, which is starting from my level to the board level. Your board briefs are now in the SMORE, which is accessible to all individuals that sign up for the newsletter. And referendum planning, a big initiative for this year. Our goal this year is to determine district capital project needs for a referendum and to develop a comprehensive proposal for stakeholder engagement and then eventually a vote a year from now. We have created an action step timeline. We are in the process of collecting lists of projects in each school building, but we don't want to come up with that list of projects without fully engaging our community. We have planned for meetings with the HSA, the RTEA leadership, parents, and community members. We are looking at going to faculty meetings in each one of the buildings to talk with the staff about potential referendum planning and projects, and holding community forums in the fall and in the spring, and maybe even next fall as well. We have to update our long-range facility plan. So that's going to require that the architect walk through buildings with our facilities manager, with Jason, maybe even with me, as well as the building principal, to look at needs and wants across the district. And then, of course, once we make a project list, then it's about communicating to the community for hopefully a successful referendum vote this time next year. I'm learning a lot about referendums from the parent side because my community has a vote next Tuesday. I attended their community forum last night online. So I can already anticipate some questions that are going to come from communities when it comes to referendum planning. And then goal 4, this is the continued goal, our strategic plan. We are in our final year of our strategic plan. I think it's time for us to take a step back, reflect, call our staff and our administration together, maybe even develop a survey and get some feedback about how well we achieved our strategic goals over the past 5 years or so. How will we know we've achieved our goals? We want to monitor project completions, deliverables like handbooks, professional development offerings, any new protocols that we develop, and revisions to curricular documents. Our newsletters and press releases will be another data point for all of our communications goals, and we'll be sharing referendum information, surveys and feedback forms, meeting minutes and notes, again, curriculum revisions, student reports, data through iReady and JSLA, and then staff development plans. So these are how we will know we will have achieved our goals. Other possible work ahead, just a couple of things that are kind of on our radar, just are on our radar, and we need to attend to, but maybe it aren't goals. This is our recertification cycle for Sustainable Jersey. So we have achieved silver the past cycle. So we're looking at doing our certification process again for Sustainable Jersey, which is due at the end of the school year. So that will involve this school year's work. And that is part of our strategic work. And then at the leadership retreat, we've talked a little bit about AI and what schools need to do in order to be prepared for where AI may be taking society and how we can better prepare our teachers, our administration, and develop some policy around that. I just point that out as something that's there, something that we need to attend to. It's not necessarily a goal, but it's something that we may want to focus on later in the year. And that's my presentation in terms of where we may be headed with goals this year. And I will open up to the board for questions that you may have.
I just have a comment about the AI, things on the radar. And I know AI came up during the retreat, and I think that's fine. I would add, though, I think even before we get to AI, maybe in terms of things on the radar, we take a look at policies on student use of cell phones in school, I know I brought that up before, and, I know it could be a controversial issue, but I think we should at least have a policy about if they're allowed, where they're allowed. I see more and more districts, I was just reading the paper, there's a trend toward some districts just banning them, or at least banning them from the classrooms. So I would like to see that at least looked at.
There was an article recently, I don't know if you're looking at the same one, it was maybe from the Garden State Coalition, maybe it was somewhere, or maybe I'm going to put it in the Bugle. I also sent that same article to Mr. Charleston, the principal of the middle school as well, for him to read and review, and I know that it's on his radar as well. So that's something in terms of AI, cell phone use, just technology in schools, it's something that we will take a look at this year as well. Thank you. Yeah.
Great, I mean, I think they're great goals, and I'm really excited to hear where you're proposing that we head. And I've heard a lot of great feedback about the s'mores, the newsletters being easy to read and easy to use on smartphones, so people can see all the information on one small screen, which is great. And then also just a comment, I think, under referendum planning, you develop a communication protocol.
Mm-hmm.
I would consider even, I don't know if these are in order that they would be achieved, but I think the communication piece is really important in referendum planning, and any support we can get from those that have done it before or insights that we could learn from other districts, I think would be really helpful upfront.
Absolutely, yeah, point well taken. And yes, community engagement, I think based off of the timeline Jason and I put together and we discussed in finance for referendum planning, and my only context, my frame of reference is my district, where like, it was like May of last year, and they're like, by the way, vote referendum in September, and I'm like, maybe we should have known about that like a year ago, or to think about it, like something, so we want to start now.
Yeah.
I think our idea is to start early with stakeholder engagement when it comes to the referendum. We talked about ensuring that we at least have a community forum for winter break, so that this is not like a shock in May when all of a sudden we've come to a board resolution in February or March and said, yeah, we're going to go out for referendum. That we actually get some input on the front end first. So that would be our idea. It's a point well taken. Yeah. Thank you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to add, I'm sorry, go ahead, Justin.
I just had a question, how would we go about seeking community input?
So we're going to use those outlets between the HSA, the RTEA, the faculty and staff, members of the township committee, and then we're going to have open community forums. So that would be our plan. By some referendum education to the board by our November board meeting, and then open up to the full community, where we have our architect, bond counsel, Jason and I available to answer any questions that the community might have, and to seek their input, right? What would you like to see potentially be a referendum project? Not just the 9 of you and the administration, but this is a community effort, right? And make sure that we gather that input. We're gathering all of this fall, so that by the time we get to January, we need to put together a comprehensive project list. We have talked with the HSA, the RTA, the full community, the township, and others to gather the list of projects. And then it'll be up to us, up to all of you, to decide what's in the proposal and what might not be. But at least we've asked and we've gathered as much input as we can from the community. In the forum, we're thinking to have it not be a board meeting, because board meetings have the public comment portions, just have it be an open, let's talk about this. Step up to the microphone, present your idea. Jason and I can take notes on every idea, and then we can bring everything back to you, and we can talk about, the analysis of each individual idea, put a cost to it, and then we can look at what we want to do with the referendum from there.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was just going to add that this is an exciting time, I really think, for the district, because for so long we concentrated on negotiations and with the teachers and administrators and your contract and now that that's kind of done, I think it's really great. This referendum, it's coming together with the end of the 5 years. I mean, it just seems like it's going to be a really exciting year, and I'm really I'm excited about it for everybody, the district, and I feel really optimistic. It's gonna be great, because that referendum we talk about, I mean, that has such long-range impact on the district. So it's critical.
Yeah.
A lot of good things are happening.
Excellent. Any other questions? Thoughts? Okay. At this time, I'd like to introduce Patty Reese from the New Jersey School Boards Association. She has a presentation, so she will talk to you about this in much more detail, but there are district goals, which are really like the superintendent evaluation goals, and then there are goals that we own collectively as the Board of Education in concert with district goals. And I think it'll be a really nice way for her to talk about, the potential board goals, now that we've talked a little bit about district goals, and lead you through that discussion. So, here's your clicker. You can just click that one, the arrow that's really right down is the one. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Dr. Hart, and thank you for having me today. I know that you in the past have worked with Gwen Thornton, and I'm happy to say she is still with the association. She has just moved on. She's now the director of content. So she's not out in districts as much, and I'm happy for that on many levels, but that I'm now in Somerset, Hunterdon, and part of Warren counties. I actually live in Somerset County. One's northern Somerset. I live in Branchburg. So my background is I've been with the association for 9 years. Some of that time as a county activities coordinator, handling the county meetings for the northern counties, and the last couple of years as a field service rep, starting in Middlesex Union in Hudson, which is why I'm really happy to be in Somerset and Hunterdon. Before I worked at the association, I was on the Branchburg Board of Education for 12 years. I was also on, after I stepped down from that, I was 2.5 years on the Township Committee, as well as 10 years on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So when I looked at your website, I saw all the affordable housing. Wow, it's amazing for what we're all experiencing in this area. But as I said, I'm happy to be here, and Gwen is still a resource if you ever want to reach out to her as well. But I've been asked to talk about setting goals, board goals, but it was great that Dr. Hart started with the district goals, because as we'll go into it, the goals build on each other. And so, one of the most important things, most important board responsibilities is to set comprehensive goals for your district and your students. And so as we go through this, and that sets the course for success for your students and as well as your district. So as we move forward through this process, just ask yourself, what have you accomplished this year? What might need additional focus? And do they reflect do your priorities reflect your core values? And as we talk about, from our perspective, this stair-step level model of responsibility, because the goals should build on each other and they should all be aligned. So you really start with your strategic planning goals, which then go to your district goals builds on that with more detail, and then the Board of Education talks about what goals the board can have to support the district goals and the strategic planning goals. And that goes all the way up to the administrative goals, down to the building goals, down to your teachers, and ultimately to your students. And so, as I say, that all the goals should align, that they align to your district's mission statement, and then again, to your vision, to your mission, your vision, your strategic planning, district, and then board goals and all the way down. And a healthy process is to review those every year. Look at what you did last year, what was successful, what needed tweaking, what might need to be carried forward in a different way. And so that really is a healthy way to assign your district goals.
And so he talked about your district goals. The district goals are owned by everyone in the district, the board as well as the administration. And the board really determines what they want to have accomplished, and your administration works with the what and determines how that will be accomplished. The board doesn't get into the how, they just like the upper level stuff. And then the board goals are set by the board to enhance their governance skills or for processes and tasks that are solely the board's. The board governance cycle, which includes mostly a lot of goal setting, is a continuous cycle of goal setting, analysis, and review. And that's why the graphic is a circle, because it just goes from one to the other. You start over the summer as you are now, the summer at the beginning of the school year, setting goals for your year, and then you analyze and review and discuss them throughout the year, potentially bringing them to your public a couple of times at board meetings. Maybe sometimes we recommend quarterly to bring them forward, just so everybody's aware of the goals that you have and then your work towards that and what progress you've made. And then, in the analysis, if there's something that needs to be changed or tweaked a little bit, that can happen throughout the year. And as you come out that cycle of board goals or of goal setting, the district goals are what your superintendent is assessed on in their annual evaluation. So we know that effective school boards define clear goals for student achievement that are based on a vision of high expectations and shared beliefs about what's possible for all your students. And that's why goal setting is really a very important part of what the board does and what the district does. So as you move forward, I think I sent them the wrong one, it's a little out of order, I apologize. But what should your focus be as we start this discussion? Is there anything that will most dramatically accelerate your student learning and address any opportunity gaps that have been identified? And we will look through this. Is there anything that your data identifies as an improvement focus? Is there anything needed to improve the overall student success, and to align any of your financial resources and your budget to support your student achievement plans and your priorities? So set goals, not limits. We want to be aspirational and seek high. And part of the we start with the mission statement because it focuses on today and what you do as a board and as a district. It guides you to your destination, and Dr. Hart talked about the mission statement in his. And again, that's like the stair step of responsibility. You start here, and this is something that just kind of grounds the direction of the district. And I won't go really into this too much because Dr. Hart did, but it's important to look at your district's strategic planning goals and how they, because they were set collaboratively with your community. I see that your strategic plan expires in 2025. But in this process, we review your prior year's board goals, strategic planning goals, all of the goals from the prior year to determine if progress was made and if any should be carried over, or if any should be changed, or if anything additional should come forward. I took from your website your board goals from last year, and again, it's just to kind of look at what worked, what didn't, what needs more work for it, and how they all align to your strategic goals and your district goals. Again, they should all be built upon each other. and just the more of the continued goals, that from last year. And as we go for our discussion, moving forward, from here, what can the board do to be more effective in your areas of responsibility? Should any of those goals of last year's goals be continued? How do you ensure attention to all learners, such as with academics? And how can we focus, what can you focus on to enhance your performance as a board? What are your processes for keeping policies current? Policy development. Do you have a process for keeping them current? Should that be something that you should be looking at? I don't know, this is for your discussion. And what about high quality input and feedback cycles? Is that something you want to focus on? And I understand from talking to Dr. Hart that you had a summer retreat, that you did a self-assessment of the board, and so some of these ideas do come from that. He sent me some notes for that. And from those notes that he sent, these were, and these are certainly up for discussion. They're not a done deal, but potential focus board goals for next year based on those discussions. And as you look through them, they actually do align with your the proposed district goals. And so just for this to develop a comprehensive list of projects for a 2025 referendum focusing on district needs and educational enhancements. Along with projects, employ a robust communications plan to accompany the referendum. And it might be like, what does that mean? And again, these are potential based on your discussion as a board this summer, but there's time now to have further discussion on if you agree with these, if you don't, if you want something different, if you want to change the wording, whatever that might be. And then support and implement a district communications plan and develop and review protocols for policy documents. And so I understand you also did some work with, or looked into at Feltman's work on trust. I read briefly what that's about, the 4 levels of trust, and how to make an organization function better, more cohesively. I will say I also looked at your board self-evaluation that you did with New Jersey School Boards Association with our tool, and really have you seen that? I know that was sent out. When you look at the ratings, right? They're on a weighted 4-point scale. We consider any rating of any board that rates themselves 3 or better on that weighted 4-point scale as a board that works well together. You don't have anything below 3. So I think that shows that you do work well together. Doesn't mean there's room for improvement, because there's always room for improvement. But it does show that you work well together. And believe me, I've seen some where they've been well below 3. And it's nice that board members are honest. And I'm looking at my notes. Okay. So does anybody want to start the discussion on, let's go with potential focus board goal number 1. Is that something that resonates with the board?
I'll just start because last month, and I'm glad everyone is here, because I'm not sure if a couple people might have missed it, but those were just suggestions that we had kind of presented, right? So, but it's nice to now hear Dr. Hart's goals for the district, and I think it's, of course they want to be aligned, like you said. So that, I think that, I don't know how you guys all feel, but I think we should just go around and see if we're comfortable with the first one. I mean, it definitely have to do something regarding referendum. So, you guys agree? You want to Are we deciding tonight, honestly, to finalize the goal? No, we vote on it next month, right? Okay, so there's still time for people to think about it? Okay, all right. So nothing's in stone tonight, but for now, are we pretty comfortable with number one? Anyone? Nobody?
Yeah, in speaking for myself, I'm definitely comfortable with number one. I think there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into that, so I think it would need to be a priority. I don't necessarily know if that would be what I'd say is our number one goal. I'd be curious to explore too how we could best support the academic achievement of the district goal and supporting that from a board perspective as a priority, possibly number one as well.
Oh, as number one even.
Yeah.
All right, that's
That's for just, I wanna put that out for discussion.
Yeah, no, I agree, because now that again, we're aware of Dr. Art's, one of his goals, it doesn't align with our third goal, so I was gonna suggest that we got to that as well. So, all right, well then, one idea is that that's a great goal, but maybe not number one. I don't know, putting it out there, what do you guys think?
No, I agree with that as well.
By the way, am I supposed to leave this, or are we just?
I know, well, it's.
I apologize,
I know, I need to stay near the mic.
I'm not sure what
So-
the process is.
Right. Thank you, because sometimes it takes like the board president to get people to start chatting. But you want to, something to support academic achievement is really what you're looking for.
I don't know, I'm sorry, Justine, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say, I agree with Jen.
Okay.
Her thoughts were was pretty much what I was gonna say, so thank you.
So clearly academic has to be one of the three goals. Okay, I agree, and where it's placed. Ellen,
No, I was just gonna say, academic should be number one, I believe.
you believe academic should be number one as well?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree also, academics should be number one.
The number one goal.
And I understand this is important and we have to get it going, but academics should be number one.
Okay, trying to think. So, go ahead.
And I'll come up with some wording toward that, and then I can get that to you.
Yeah, the only, the suggestion we had last time was a sharp, clear focus on academics, just throwing it out there. That was, that's just, again, a suggestion. Go ahead.
Along with the academics goal, if I remember correctly, I don't know if we can pull back the last year's, but I feel like the mental health was a piece of that, wasn't it? So that we had those supports in place in order for academic achievement. So I don't know if that's something that we still
Okay.
want to focus on. I know that was post-COVID,
Yeah.
very high priority.
Right.
And so I just wanna put that out there that maybe, we're continuing to do that. Like we used to do the evergreen goals and that, so I don't know where it should be
Okay.
or how it should be structured, but I just wanted to throw it out there.
Okay. I'm supposed to be taking notes just as far as getting.
I think in the past, Patty, I correct me if I'm wrong, but when Gwen was here, sometimes she would kind of take some notes on what we were saying, and then she would send a document to me and the board president to then share with the full board and get feedback, and then we could craft based off of, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no, that is the process. I wasn't sure, given these potential, that, when we chatted about the potential goals, how, because I wasn't here last year, so I wasn't sure how the board worked with that. If that, if it came out of the retreat and that was kind of where the direction the board wanted to go, but also it's not set in stone tonight. And that's why we're having this discussion, so that I can get a sense of, and Dr. Hart can get a sense of what the board really wants to focus on for their board goals. I mean, if for support academic achievement, is it as simple as that? Just the board will work to create the budget parameters and things and the guidelines to support academic achievement, or continue to support something along the lines of continue to support the superintendent in determining what needs to support academic achievement for all students, something along those lines?
Go ahead.
I have a question, this could be a silly question, but Dr. Hart, you just presented goals that are different or not similar to these, so I'm confused.
It's a good question, it is, when we talked at our August board meeting, Camille, I think you led at least a brief discussion at the end of the meeting, kind of identifying some themes that came out of our July retreat. So working backwards, the July retreat informed a discussion at the August board meeting. And that discussion from the August board meeting, I then shared with Patty to then put these up on the slide. So it was from July to August to these. And that's how these became goals that we
Or
discussed. Potential goals.
They're
So I
not-
don't understand why they don't align, like you have goal 1 as academic achievement, but they're not on that screen.
I don't think we should just, I think nobody put them in any
No,
particular
it's-
order. I don't think
It's
they were
the order
shared
in
with
which
the
they were in the email and
Yeah.
and how we chatted. It's not a priority order by any
Yeah.
means. And maybe I should have just had bullets instead of numbers. There was-
And I think the only reason, let's say, for example, the referendum emerged as a top goal, let's just call it a top goal, was because it was the top of the discussion that we had at the retreat and then at the August board meetings. It was like, this is new, that no one at this table has launched. And Reddington, this is gonna need some focus. And I think it doesn't have to be number 1, it just emerged as something that was on the front of everybody's mind.
No, I understand that, that's up there, but academic achievement is not, so that's why I was
If
just
you on the next
confused.
slide, of how do you
Oh,
move
there's
forward,
more,
there's-
oh, you have
there's
more than 3.
Yeah, is there?
Oh, okay.
There you go.
It's there, it's just
Yes,
potential
that's what ended up.
continued goals.
It's almost
Yeah.
like the first slide, that first slide was like new goals, and this slide is what we're gonna continue to do. as
Continued goals.
Right? Like what's new to the board in 24-25 was the previous slide, and this slide is what are we gonna continue to work on in 24-25.
And generally, board goals are not as specific, they're more broad goals, and generally the board does support the administration in the achievement of whatever their goals are, but there are things that the board might want to look at in their own governance structure. Like I know it came up about your policy manual, if there's a process for that or not. But that's, those again were potential, and not having done this here last year, I wasn't sure how your board operated. And so it's a learning curve for me as well. But the point of tonight was to have a discussion based on these, and certainly you can have a discussion on something that's not even listed here. That is your prerogative as a board. These were just to kind of help start the discussion going, and look at programs and things that are already in progress, and the referendum apparently is something, and for any community, a referendum is big, and it does take a massive effort of the board, the district, and the community. So again, these are not set in stone, you don't have to accept these as they are, we can wordsmith them if you want, or you can select, discuss things that aren't even on that list that resonate with you as well as a board.
You're making a distinction, you're making a distinction between the board and the district goals? Why is that? I mean,
Well, the district goals are what Dr. Hart talked about, those kinds of things that you want to focus on as a district, more into the details of the district itself. The board goals talk about, are more about the tasks that are owned by the board, where the processes owned by the board, such as your committee structure, or supporting the administration in the achievement of a specific goal, or the budget parameters, something more generalized, but also specific to board duties.
I mean, I know we don't get involved in day-to-day running of the schools, but I mean, we decide on the district goals as the board, no?
Well, all the goals have to be accepted and voted on by the board. The strategic planning goals at some point in time were approved, it was a community forum, I'm guessing, and then the board does vote on them every year. Or vote on the district goals, which are an offshoot of that, every year. And the district goals can continue throughout the time, but the action, the action plan may change every year as as the district achieves part of that, or realizes that we need to just make a few little changes, or realizes that part of that action plan just isn't realistic for what we can do based on budget, based on things that may have changed, like what may have been a strategic planning goal before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic, I'm sure substantially changed. What boards focused on in district substantially changed, especially in the years coming out of the pandemic. So things that are not in your control can affect it as well, and those are fluid.
So one question, to me, the goals always seem very fuzzy. Yeah, I'm used to my corporate America SMART goals, they had to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound or something, they're very specific things. So when we talk about we want to support academic achievement, of course, this is a school, of course we want it. But what is the goal? So if we want to have a goal for a year, what is our goal that we want to actually achieve in 1 year that supports academic achievement? And I don't think we've ever really, gotten that
The goal
specific,
itself
and that's
is generally a little more broad, and that's the action plans on how we will achieve that. So what does it mean to create the supports and structures for, focus on academic achievement? And some of those can be part of that, like the action plan below will say specifically what the action will be needed, who is responsible for that action, how long it will take to achieve that action, and then what does achievement of that action look like specifically? What does it look like? Is it test scores, or is it more students in different classes, or less, more more or less response to intervention type situations? That's where you get that specificity in the action plan.
So if the specificity isn't in the goal, then how do we ever know we actually attained the goal or not? How do we, if it's so loose, I feel like at the end of the year when we're always looking, do we achieve our goals? Well, if the goals are just, with it doesn't have those, what you're putting into an action plan, it doesn't have those specifics, how do we know we ever achieved our goal?
Well, as you achieve the action plan items. That's how you achieve it. Okay. I'm just rereading, I mean.
Patty, maybe if I can interrupt, because I understand what Carolyn is saying. What would be, let's say in supporting academic achievement, what would be a board's responsibility? Like an example maybe that you've seen another board take an action step, like, because generally what we would do with the, let's say an academic achievement goal, we would take it into ed tech, into that committee, because we have a committee structure. And in that committee, we would talk in much more detail about what the action steps might look like, and then we would evaluate it about mid-year and then end of year in that specific committee. And I understand what you're saying. The goal can't necessarily be administering the district. The goal has to be what you as a board can do to support the goal. Like, so is there maybe an example would be, is there a process the board could use or a protocol within governance to support academic achievement? And what might that look like? And I don't hate to put you on the spot, but I'm searching for the same thing. Like what could we look at?
Do you have a curriculum committee?
We do, our ed tech.
So it might be to have further in-depth discussions on the committee level on what with the help of administration, right? Because they're the ones who, with the students, they're the ones that know what's going on. What kind of supports do they need to help your students achieve to whatever levels, whatever it is that they're looking to achieve? Is that looking at a new curriculum, and what might that entail? right? It might be, is it a new textbook, is it that? And what is the process that the district already has when they're looking at, the curriculum? And so that's where you have those deeper discussions at the committee level.
So one of the things that Dr. Hart, you mentioned during your presentation was training for the teachers, for, students with reading difficulties or disabilities. And so that I think would be one of the things that could be achieved. And as a board, we would probably vote on budget, whatever.
Budget, consultant.
Yeah, so I think
you know,
like
professional development
that
schedule,
could
yeah.
fall in line with student achievement.
I think that'd be great, but I think that's what we need is some, the goal needs to be more than just support academic, achievement. It needs to be, what are we going to do to support it within the next year?
And I think when we align it to the district goals, like Justine is saying, and then when we meet in ed tech and we look at the academic achievement goal, I think then you as a board in ed tech will say, Dr. Hart, we wanna, we're prepared to approve a dyslexia consultant. We're prepared to identify another screening tool for reading difficulties. Bring that to us and we'll approve that. And that would be something that you would check off. That would be an action step that you might say, administration is looking into this. Let's put that on the agenda. Even under academic achievement, something, the K2 reading program, the handwriting pilot. Dr. Hart, we want to see the results of the handwriting pilot at the end of the year, and look into the district's, rationale for choosing this program over that program. Those are some of the things that maybe could be in ed tech. We could create a bulleted list of here are the actions that the board would expect by June that we complete them. That's helpful.
Yeah, that's a really great idea.
Yeah.
I think it's hard because when it comes to really doing the work of the goal, that's really the administration,
Right.
principals, the teachers, but when it comes to supporting the goal, that's the board because that's governance. And sometimes the support of the goal will come later on after it's been established and after the action steps have been put in place. And,
Sometimes the support is just making sure that the resources are there, that the budget parameters are there, that allows for them, the administration, to do what they need to do. Not that it's an empty, blank check, certainly it's not that, but to make sure that there are sufficient resources to achieve that goal, whatever that might be.
I'll take a blank check. If anybody's offering.
I just feel like our goals don't, at that level, our goals won't really change from year to year. The level of goals are, support academic achievement or set a budget, and those are things, so your voting that might change or some of the specifics, but it's just very high level in general.
Couldn't it be a simple setting goal with those test scores we go over every year? Like instead of saying students are at, whatever it is, 70% of the state. It may not be attainable, but we just say we want this, because I know there was some disappointment over some of those categories. Remember math, a couple of them, we just say we want to be up to this level on the test. It's like a hard goal.
A couple of things about that. One, just the testing cycle doesn't allow itself to be evaluated to see the goal before you have to set another goal. So for example, we could set an achievement goal, we won't get the results until October of next year. So that's why when it comes to setting goals, when it comes to state test scores, usually in district, teachers will create SGOs and set goals around the iReady data because that's something we can measure from September to June. And JSLA is one point in time that we measure, in May, and then we don't get the results until October of the following school year. I think that could be potentially problematic. The other thing that I am just personally philosophically very cautious of is the board setting a goal that imposes a specific number of academic achievement attainment on the staff. I think we have to be very careful in creating an expectation that we're going to achieve a certain percentage of achievement for our students, because there are any number of factors that can impact that achievement number, like, staff attrition, student attendance, chronic absenteeism, multilingual learners, those kinds of things. There's a lot of factors that go into setting that goal. If anything, I try to think about it in terms of growth for kids, not necessarily academic achievement. And that's not really measured through NJSLA, it's more through iReady. So my personal and professional recommendation to the board would be not to set a specific bar, because it may not be reasonable or achievable. And I don't even know if I would know how to direct you to say, I don't even have NJSLA in any great level of detail right now to say, 8th grade math will go to 30% to 35% proficiency or something like that.
I don't know.
Not only that, that's not in our lane.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not our
right.
responsibility, basically. So we have to remember we're a governance board. And I think just to put a frame around it, I
Just
just want
saying
to.
that the administrators do it and the
Well,
teachers will do it.
Someone has to do it. Yes,
It'd be more
it's not us.
helpful to go back to the goals from last year.
I was just about to do that. You haven't? Because I just was gonna do that actually, to put a frame around
To
it.
see if you, what you feel about them, if you.
Do you have them up there?
They're in a similar vein, of
Yeah.
similar writing as what the proposed ones were.
Do you have them? Because I have them right in front of me. That's what I was gonna do.
That's not what, I thought these were last year's.
Pretty much last year's.
These are the continued.
Those are the continued goals, but last year's board,
These goals?
the board goals were, yes, there you go. Right. So those are the board goals, and then what we just saw were the continued goals. You can even see the language.
It's a lot more specific.
Those were, but the continued goals, right, create and supports and structures of it. Create and support structures for a sharp, clear focus on academic achievement. To continue to improve communications and expand community engagement. And then to set budget parameters that effectively plan for enrollment, et cetera. So they are more broad, the continued ones, they are. So those are last year's number, right?
Yeah.
So those are last year's, and that's, we have to just come up with some ideas for this year.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, it's not unusual, but it's not typical to settle an agreement is, before the end of the school year shows up as a board goal.
Well, that is our job though, because we are
Yeah.
negotiating and that was
Right,
our
right,
goal,
no.
so that's,
But it was important to your board,
exactly.
and that's really what we need to move forward, is what's important to your board. These are certainly more succinct,
Yes.
so
I
you,
think too, like if you were in the ed tech committee, if you look at 2A, right, with the examples, if you were in the ed tech committee, chances are you remember hearing about, you used the data conversation guide in October, looking at the student data last year. You looked at and approved clubs through the YMCA, as well as clubs through the district. You saw iReady, Running Record, NJSLA data multiple times in multiple fashions throughout the year. In personnel, we talked about retention recruitment. We have a little bit of data on, how we were doing in filling positions. HIV reports I provide to you, not in as much detail. I think a lot of those things were discussed and talked about, and they came to the full board for approval as well. So maybe having a list of examples might be the way to make the goal more specific.
So I just want to touch on what Carolyn said. As a newer board member, I can understand where you're like, where's the specific, but being in the ed tech meetings, I see the more specific goals and when the administration speaks about them, but I feel like the rest of the board doesn't get to see that. And probably goes the same with all the other communities, like you guys have conversations and we don't know what actually happens, so we're kind of like out of the loop a little bit. Maybe that could be our goal, is to figure out a way to have these committee meetings, the agendas, or how the meeting went and like how it went down, because like minutes just aren't the same, you know what I mean? Like maybe there's something we could do to make it more, I don't know, more, accessible, more like we know what's going on.
so you're looking at like things like committee minutes from from a board perspective or
Yeah,
from the
but-
community?
From a board perspective, like, I don't feel like minutes are enough, because like, like the minutes are like, oh, they're bullet points.
Mhm.
It's not like, specifically at tech, I know, like the administration did it, but a bullet point just doesn't give it as much power. And like, no, this is what they did. It's just a bullet point. It's not as clear. Does that make sense?
And are the committee chairs reporting out at board meetings?
They are,
Okay.
they are.
But it's not like you're in the committee having that in-depth discussion.
You're listening to all the administration and what they've done, and you're like, wow, that's great.
Right.
But the rest of the board members aren't seeing that because we run in place at committees. So, does that make sense?
Yeah,
I was actually gonna touch on that later, but since you brought it up, that was one of the things from the convention last year that I had learned from fellow board members is that they share, and I understand not everybody's gonna, we have our committees we don't have a lot of time to go to every committee meeting. That's why we do serve on 2 committees as board members. But they had shared that they share their agenda prior to the committee meeting to the entire board. Because perhaps, the Ed Tech committee is gonna be discussing something that I have an expertise in. And maybe I wanna participate in that committee meeting that month. I should have the opportunity to do that. So that was one of the things that I learned last year, just speaking to these other board members, and I was like, wow, we don't do that as a board. We don't share our agendas ahead of time. We don't record our committee meetings. So I understand what Mr. Lopes is saying is that you don't hear the conversations that are going on. You come to the meeting, to the public meeting, and then you just hear the minutes. It's not enough sometimes.
and I mean, and you're absolutely right, there are boards that do share the agenda out with the full board. And they also have the committee schedule ahead of time, right? So that when the committee's meeting, you get the agenda a certain amount of time before the committee meeting, so that if you have a question or a comment, or you have that expertise, that a board member could call the committee chair and have that discussion with the committee chair. I mean, that is looking at your committee structure and how to make it more meaningful to all the board members. And things like that you can do. That can be a board goal if you want to do something along those lines.
Yeah, they also said that at training, at the governance training, that was best practice, was to do that. So I agree that that's something maybe we should work on implementing this year. Because I know too, also sometimes the minutes, everyone has busy schedules, so someone, might not have, if the minutes come out, a day before our meeting, that's a lot of cram time to say, okay, I need to process this, I wanna maybe look into this further, and I'm supposed to be voting on something. So if we get the agenda ahead of time, it may allow us to get a lot of a head start on some of the information that's gonna be coming to us. And then if we don't see it in the minutes, then we can ask that question, or we may be able, I just think it would be better from an operations standpoint.
I mean, do you have, some boards do where they set the committee dates, meeting dates in September for the year?
The way we do it is after committee, and then we, at the end of the meeting, then we have everyone there, and we say, let's get our calendars out, and then we set up the next meeting. Otherwise I think there'd be a lot of changing of dates, I don't know, that's hard enough as it is, you can just with a few people, but not that, we could look at another process, huh?
Or at least have the committee meeting the week before the board meeting, so that the minutes come out at a specific time frame. And you have to be realistic, right? Because you all have lives beyond being on the board. So to say that we're gonna have a committee meeting and the chair's gonna get the minutes out within 24 hours is likely unrealistic. And then it doesn't, then it comes, a day or so before the board meeting, and you're right, you don't have enough time to read and process and maybe call and ask a few questions, especially if there's stuff that you as a board have to vote on and that you need this information. And so setting that structure, however that might work, even if it's not setting the whole committee's meetings in September for this fall school year, but saying that the committees will happen, at least a week before the board meeting, or at least before if there's a voting item. that's coming out of that, at least a week before, or maybe 10 days, whatever works for the board and the committee chairs, and then to have those minutes go out in enough time before your board meeting so that you can review them, you can call and ask questions if you have questions.
I have no problem, so that would be added to the list of possible board goals, is that what we're saying?
Yes, I would like to see a bullet point.
Yeah. Sure, and then, so, that makes sense, I have no problem with that, anyone else have any thoughts about that, or we're just?
Yeah, I think we can continue the provide and share opportunities for board training and professional development. I think for like we need to maybe set a goal to be a high functioning, we are a high functioning board, but and continue to, maybe we dig deep into Robert's rules. I mean, just maybe set a goal for, I don't know, checking it. Like I know one board, they read Robert's rules, like they gave each other, okay, like this month we're gonna read this one and we're gonna discuss it, that kind of thing. I don't know if that's what we wanna do, but like, just so we can make sure we're, everyone knows what is required to run the meetings and
Makes a lot of sense, and the
we're all on
board,
the same page and.
right, the board keeps changing, so I think it's a valid goal, the ongoing goal.
I mean, and for board training and professional development, school boards has a lot of different programs, and your county meetings also have, an hour of that is professional development. And now that the county meetings are hybrid, most of them, that if you see a topic at another county meeting, you can register and attend that meeting virtually if it's a topic that's of interest. And those all go towards, we have two different certification tracks, one for board members and one for boards of education. And it's all about providing opportunities for boards and board members to get additional professional development, to help you do what you do better. And so that's an option as well, to continue that, and then look at what is out there, or having somebody come into your board, a consultant, but just one selling point. When we come in as part of your dues, so there's no additional cost, but there is that, but so that's another goal as well.
Okay, so last time, again, we talked about referendum, we talked about supporting and implementing the district communications plan. So again, I don't know where it's 1, 2, 3, so are we agree that we want to do something academics, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
We want to do something with a board process of agenda or minutes and all that, so however that's worded. We agree on the referendum, right, something with referendum. Do we agree to do something and support and implement the district communications plan? Again, whether it's a goal or even a continued goal, we can figure that out, but we agree communications. The other thing that had come up was, and we don't have to do this now, but it was develop the review protocols for policy documents. You want to include that, or how do you feel about that one?
Now with the new discussion on the processes, that might fall under that as one of the action items. Perhaps there's a way to word it that we're reviewing some of our processes, and then action items to get specific could be to review our policy process, to review our committee protocols. And we could say, like, for example, setting agendas in advance of the meeting and things of that nature to get to some of those specifics, but keep the goal a little bit broader so we can capture a lot of what this conversation has included.
That makes sense. Okay, I like that. I mean, that makes sense to me. Do you guys agree with all that? Good idea. You got this down?
Yeah, I mean, we're
Taking good notes?
between, I hope I'm taking good notes, correct me if I'm
I'm sure you are.
By Friday, but, we generally recommend 3 to 5 goals, because if you have more than 5 goals, then you're really spending more time on the goals itself and not on, you have a busy board schedule of other things, to go. So, we have something about supporting academic achievement, reviewing, or something about committee structure, reviewing committee protocols, something to support the referendum, and then, communications.
Okay, the only other thing that for continued goals, was budget parameters and safety and security. Which is always something that, you can never leave that out, so continued safety and security, and that's
I mean,
important.
you don't need to have continued goals, you could just have 3 to 5 board goals.
Okay.
And that continued goals could be encompassed in them somehow.
That's fine.
And then it's up to you, if you want continued goals, it's up to you.
Again, I'm open to whatever you guys think. And the last one is to review the strategic plan, since we're in year 5, like Dr. Hart had mentioned, which we don't have to, if Dr. Hart is gonna have that as a goal. So unless there's any other ideas or thoughts? Yes.
Personally, I'm not a fan of continued goals. I think
Okay.
all of your goals, if they should be time down. And
Okay.
when you say continuing, it just sounds like it's, forever.
Yeah.
Which, and I do understand the evergreen, there are certain things that are always a goal, but there should be some aspect of that goal that you want to focus on in the coming year. So,
Got it. Right.
If security, safety and security is always a goal, but what do we want to think about this year?
Yeah.
Or, what, as a board, what's important to us? Something new this year to look at.
Like when we went from 2 police officers to 4, so very, very specific,
Very
right?
specific,
Okay,
as a goal,
and then-
that was something.
With the goals, then you might then take the specific goals and put them to specific committees to discuss and further refine and come up with the action plans on what it looks like to, what steps what achievement of that goal looks like, and what steps it takes to achieve that goal, and, who's gonna do it and how long it's gonna take. And that's really the in-depth discussions you can bring back to your different committees on those different goals.
For instance, like communication, communications is a ongoing goal.
Mhm.
We always want to have these communications.
Right.
Maybe this year's goal is we set up a newsletter to distribute, or we get, the Remington News back up and running, or something specific within communications.
Or work with that new magazine, that new
That,
publication that came out, exactly, right.
So that's something that we
right.
achieved this year with the board.
Yep.
It makes our,
And maybe to your point, Carolyn, when it comes to safety and security, it doesn't need to be a continued goal, because I'm sure that when we talk referendum, we're gonna talk about safety and security upgrades to the buildings within the referendum. So maybe it doesn't need to be a continued goal, but can support the referendum goal. Right, like that could be the action item within the referendum, is focus on safety and security upgrades and health and safety upgrades, those kinds of things.
could be. I think safety and security is something that we wanna, be aware of and think about every year, so I wouldn't mind seeing it as a separate continuing goal, but maybe try to identify something within it, like we went from 2 to 4, school resource officers, and so maybe this year, I think we upgraded the front entryways of the buildings a couple of years back, and that was a goal for the year. And maybe this year it's new cameras, by all the doors, or this year it's something else. That as a board, we think we want to work towards.
Many times support of those goals or something like that comes from at budget time, where when you're looking at the budget and you're having that discussion, you make sure that if the administration's recommending upgrading security measures, what does that entail? What is that in the budget? And that you as a board support that. And because there's not unlimited dollars for everything anymore. So there's things there's checks and balances, but that's kind of more along the lines of what the board does support the budget level for those. But it doesn't hurt to have it there, because you're right, safety and security is, especially in the last, I'm gonna say last week, but the last how many years, it's a big issue. And it is on the top, tops of people's minds, especially parents, teachers. My daughter's a teacher, and I know how the impact of those unannounced drills and all those have, not only on your students, but on your teachers. So safety and security is a big thing, and it should be at the forefront, part of your discussions.
Does anyone else have any other thoughts or ideas that you'd like to consider as well?
And as I will go down to the next steps, oops, wrong one. Just, But what I talk about, you develop the action plans, you implement the action plans. And we recommend that even with the district goals, that maybe quarterly at your board meeting, just have a 15 minutes progress towards those goals. What are we doing? What's working? What needs to change? Just so you as a board and your community knows that these goals, be they the district or the board goals, are important. And you want them to know, and you want that information out there. It really, especially as you're going into a referendum, getting into the habit of having quarterly updates on different things, is important. And having, when I was on my board, we did a referendum for Whiten School. And it really does help to bring your public along from the very beginning, from the inception of the idea. And that could just be having updates at your board meetings, just so that it's not a shock to them, that when you come to the actual time to vote. And there's a whole plan for that, so that's communications is important. And I will get something to help you with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it. All right. Thank you, Patricia, we appreciate your help. We are now open to the public, limited to action items on the agenda. Okay. All right, we did receive a correspondence on email from LL regarding the ELA curriculum. And now we,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay, I didn't know if there's anything else.
There's no comments.
Right, okay, that's fine, thank you. Moving on to approval of administrative reports, can we get a motion to adopt 2.01?
So move that. Second, Carolyn.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mrs. Menzer,
Yes.
Mr. Peach,
Yes.
Mrs. Bagorski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Bolt,
Abstain.
Dr. Seuss,
Yes.
passes.
Moving on to finance and facilities, can we get a motion to adopt 3.01 to 3.08?
So move that. Second, Carolyn.
And we have a committee report, Mrs. Pinto? Thank you.
The Finance Committee met on Thursday, August 29th. We discussed the 2024-25 capital projects. The RMS nurse's office, roof, and HVAC will be ready for the first day of school. The main office will still be partially under construction when students return. It's the long lead times on furniture that has delayed the project. IT switch and access point project, and they're adding battery backups and IT switches and access points for Wi-Fi. The first responder radio enhancement is 90% complete. The equipment is in, and they are working on getting the antennas out to the roof, and programming will begin very, very soon. The White House art room, the furniture is set to be installed on October 3rd while the school is closed for the holiday. We then discussed the referendum and expiring debt. The goal is to have a September 2025 referendum. The architects need board-approved resolution at the end of January in order to meet timeline requirements. We want to make sure every stakeholder is as involved as possible throughout the process. Administrators will put together a list of capital projects with input from staff. The architects will do a walkthrough with an engineer and meet with administrators to create a comprehensive plan and give us tentative costs. Leadership will begin meeting with the HSA, RTEA, Township of Reddington, and other major stakeholders to get their input. The architect will present and propose capital projects to the Finance Committee in November. Bond Council will do a public presentation on November 12th explaining the referendum and expiring debt with a Q&A. There will then be an open public community forum with the Bond Council and architects to present the final projects. The meeting will be later in November with the date still to be determined. The Finance Committee will further discuss the projects in detail in December with the goal of finalizing the projects for referendum by early January.
the solar expansion proposal. The Finance Committee received an update on the expansion. We discussed information regarding fixed rate versus escalating rate and reviewed some decisions coming up for our next committee meeting. The electric school bus grant, the committee reviewed the plan for the new electric bus that has been ordered. We reviewed the RMS bus lot, which is in an optimal location because there is not a tremendous risk to students or buildings. The electric box is there already for our engine warmers, for our current fleet, for the colder weather. The first electric vehicle charger will be right next to that, and we'll make sure it follows the protocols that the fire department requires. The bus will be at the end of the lot, leaving a vacant spot next to the bus. Mr. Lopes provided information to the committees to ensure we protect our fleet and consider all available safety measures, including an easily accessible shut-off switch to avoid any delay in extinguishing the vehicle and possibly a monitoring system and sprinklers. These additional costs have yet to be determined. There was a recent electric vehicle planning meeting that led to great discussion of safety measures for all lithium-ion battery equipment and their disposal. There will be a formal meeting with OEM and the fire department in September to make sure we are prepared for the new vehicle. We then discussed the NJDA cafeteria audit and corrective action plan. The audit revealed that we need to spend more money in our cafeteria. We have remediated and spent money already, and the action plan is in place. We also discussed a parent insurance appeal. The committee discussed an insurance matter involving a Title 59 appeal. Dr. Hart also provided information regarding a legal matter. The pilot program discussion has been tabled due to time constraints during the meeting, and the Oprah legal alert was also tabled due to time constraints. The finance agenda items are the bill list and the NJDA cafeteria audit corrective action plan and police shared services agreement. And our next meeting was just recently set, right? It was,
I think so, yes.
yeah, I forget the dates. Sorry, that wasn't updated on here. So September.
I know, I did not know, sorry.
I didn't write it down.
But it was
I
set.
apologize, yes, we do have.
We agreed on
I think we said two meetings.
September 24th
Oh,
right?
Thank you.
and October 18th.
Okay, great.
thank you, Mrs. Pinto. Does anyone have any questions about anything regarding those minutes? Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Menzer,
Yes.
Mr. Peach,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf,
Yes.
Dr. Susiel.
Yes.
Passes.
Moving on to Ed Tech, can we get a motion to adopt 4.01 to 4.03?
I'll move that. Second, Carolyn.
We did not have a committee report, correct? Okay, so does anyone have any questions regarding what's on the agenda? No? Okay. No? Can we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Menzer,
Yes.
Mr. Peach,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf,
Yes.
Dr. Susiel.
Yes. Moving on to personnel, can we get a motion to adopt 5.01 to 5.13?
So move, Jennifer. Second, Carolyn.
Once again, we don't have a committee report, correct? Correct. Does anyone have any questions regarding anything on the agenda? No? Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Menzer,
Yes.
Mr. Peach,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf,
Yes.
Dr. Susiel.
Yes. Moving on to communication, can we get a motion to adopt 6.01 to 6.02?
Move that. Second, Carolyn.
And once again, we don't have a committee report, I believe, right? No.
We do.
Does anyone have any questions about anything on the agenda? All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. DePinto,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Menzer,
Yes.
Mr. Peach,
Yes.
Mrs. Bogorski,
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan,
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf,
Yes.
Dr. Susiel.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. Unfinished business?
The workshop, yeah. I know Jason has been sending out probably incessant reminders about the workshop coming up. But Jason and I talked today, the way I understand it is we have at least one board member going Tuesday and staying over Tuesday night into Wednesday, and another board member going Tuesday, staying over Tuesday night, and staying Wednesday night until Thursday. So if any board members interested in going, we just want you to know that that seems to be the schedule, and Jason and I will kind of align ourselves with that schedule, going Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then leaving on Thursday. So if board members are interested in going, we just wanted you to know what we've collected so that you can, look at your schedule and decide if you want to go for one night or 2 nights, or you can go one day and do the afternoon sessions on Monday, just that nobody will be there. So you'll be left to Atlantic City all by yourself. So whatever you do happens in Atlantic City, stays in Atlantic City. But just know that we'll plan on going. Jason and I will go Tuesday night or Wednesday night, and we'll just coordinate board members that are going for those 2 nights as well. And Jason has the details if anybody's interested. The agenda is out as well, so if there's certain agenda items that are of interest to you, Tuesday and Wednesday are the more full days of agenda items. Monday is just Monday afternoon, and then Thursday, is the law forum. So that's the update.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Any new business from the board? No. All right, we're now open to the public for anything on or off the agenda. Anyone? Oh, we have someone?
There's a message from an Austin, fix the bathroom pass.
Yep.
All right, duly noted. Thank you. Anything else that we need to share? No. Okay.
I would encourage Austin or anybody having a question about the RMS bathroom protocols to reach out to their teacher or Mr. Charleston. Because it sounds like when reaching out to Mr. Charleston or the nurses, it sounds like whatever concerns have been heard and have been resolved.
Can I say something real quick on this topic? I actually had a concern as a parent. I reached out to Mr. Charleston, the principal, and he's great, and there's more pros than cons. That's all I say.
Well, now we
Thank you.
Allowed?
Yeah, it's allowed, I'll tell you. I'll start by saying we have always monitored the sign out for children using the bathroom at the middle school. We have moved to a digital version where students can use an app on their Chromebook in the classroom, sign out, pick a specific bathroom, and use the restroom during class time. There are some limitations. Day 4, there are some limitations that we're still getting used to. And I know that if you've reached out to Mr. Charleston, he's collecting all of the data and making adjustments. From what I understand, the concern has been because it's digital, the bathroom passes have caps or limits on how many students could sign out to go to a specific bathroom. So if you wanted to use the 6th grade boys bathroom and there are 2 students that are already signed out on the virtual system using that bathroom, a student is not able to access that bathroom. But it's something that we're still getting used to. And I think that was the primary concern, and just students sort of having to wait differently than they had in the past. I know that parents reached out to Mr. Charleston. I know he's aware of the issue, and he's making adjustments to those cap limits. I mean, we're not going to let like 10 students in one bathroom at once. You can imagine that could be problematic. But the real benefits of this is everybody in the building be able to monitor the bathroom, and specifically during an emergency drill like a lockdown, Mr. Charleston, by a click of his computer, can say we are in lockdown and there are 8 students in these 4 bathrooms, and know exactly who's out and what bathroom they're in, and can identify that if need be. So.
Since it came up, which I didn't expect it to, I just have a question of it. How do you ensure that a student says they're gonna go to a certain bathroom if they actually end up in that bathroom? Just curious now, since you brought it up. I mean, that would be the
The
question I would be
world of
asking.
middle school administration,
Sorry,
I guess.
okay.
would be-
I didn't even put you on the spot.
But look, they could sign out of classroom number 302 and say that they're going to the bathroom and go to no bathroom. And we have to trust our students, and we have monitors in the hallway who also have access to the app as well, so.
I guess my personal frame of reference is just a little different, that's all.
Yeah.
I understand, no, it's great.
I can't imagine why, can you?
Yeah.
But I think we have monitors in the hallway that also have access to the same app as well, so that they know if Johnny signed out of classroom 301 has voted the sixth grade bathroom. If I'm the sixth grade hall monitor, I should be expecting Johnny walking down the hallway, and if they don't, then I know.
Okay.
What? So that's the best answer I can give on my very limited knowledge, which is why you need to call Dr. or Mr. Charleston or your child's teacher.
I was gonna ask you a question.
Of course.
That's what problem are we solving that in order to implement that, like what prompted that app?
There have been instances of vandalism in the bathrooms and graffiti as well, and this is certainly a way that we can monitor it a little bit closely without having to go into a FBI investigation of the cameras and everything like that. I say that tongue in cheek, but as well as just monitoring student safety, like knowing where students are when they say they're going. And I believe that a similar app or some kind of same protocol is used when students sign into the nurse's office or the school counselor's suite as well. It's just about accounting for where students are at any given time in the building.
So my only question was, I don't know if you know the answer, but the process. So a child requests it, and then who's granting the permission to go?
It's an automatic yes for them to go as long as there's an available place to go. So the teacher doesn't have to go to her computer and click yes. The child says, I need to use the bathroom. The teacher says yes. The teacher knows that that child's out of the classroom, then the app tracks that they've gone to the bathroom. I think I have most of this right. It's.
Does it
Thank
time
you also for prompting
What's that?
me.
Is it time them out and reset or something?
I don't think so.
Okay. So then when
But
they
I
come
know
back,
that,
they
I
have to
think
check
that
out.
students need to get in the habit of coming back and clicking I'm back,
Gotcha.
right? Beth, your middle school parents, right? I don't know.
Thank you, Austin, for prompting that conversation. Impromptu, all right. Any other comments? About anything? Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
To move that. Second. Second, Jennifer.
Carolyn's not here, no one knows what to do.
Yeah.
Who's gonna give us a second whenever you're
I'm
not?
stuck with that.
No, it's true. Can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Pinto?
Yes.
Ms. Fiore?
Yes.
Mr. Lopes?
Yes.
Ms. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Peach?
Yes.
Ms. Byborski?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Gold?
Yes.
Dr. Seuss?
Yes.
Right, we started at about
Yeah, that worked out.
6.
Fine, it's good, 'cause I know.
Like, we really had a good conversation about it.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Gets us home in time. Not that there's anything